Hi there! Welcome to episode 129 of the WaveBack Music Podcast. My name is Kris.
And I'm Matt.
And we're here to listen to the most interesting video game music there is. Rare were among the best developers for the NES, and 30 years ago they flexed their programming muscles on a strange Ninja Turtle-inspired adventure that became a cult classic for generations to come. Watch out for those rock walls, because tonight we listen to the music of Battletoads for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Well, hello, Matt.
Hello, Kris.
And how are you this fine, thundery evening?
I could use a lot more thunder. I could use a lot more lightning. I'm a big fan of lightning. I know that may sound weird, but I really like seeing photographs of lightning and all those crazy electrical storms really excites me.
Oh, me too. I love me a good thunderstorm. We were also just talking about how much I want there to be lots of rain. Now, granted, maybe this very instant while we're trying to record via the internet isn't the greatest time for a lightning storm.
Yeah, well.
But you know what? I'll take it.
Oh, can I drop a quick anecdote about lightning?
I love quick anecdotes.
This won't be quick at all. When I went, no, I'm kidding. When the wife and I
lulled you in.
Yeah, now that I've lured you in, my plan is complete. When the wife and I went to Europe, we went on a Mediterranean cruise for like our first anniversary / honeymoon, and at night we're out on the Mediterranean on this cruise ship, and it is pitch black, right? So there was a point in which we kind of passed through a storm, and it wasn't all that bad. It was like rain, but I kind of kept my eye on it because cruise ships aren't exactly built for people like me. They're like, nothing is really geared towards someone like me. Like, I don't care about the casino. I'll eat my way through it, but that's fine. But so I'm out on the deck and I'm watching, and it becomes a lightning storm. So now I'm watching in pitch black a lightning storm off in the distance. I mean, don't get me wrong. We saw the Colosseum. We saw, the Parthenon. We saw all these great places, but that lightning storm really sticks out. It was like an hour of just, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty much anytime a storm hits, like in this house, we'll just like gather around the windows and watch. I love crazy storms, wind storms, lightning storms, thunderstorms, frog storms, whatever storms you got. I'm in. I'm game.
Raining
I'm there.
blood.
Locusts,
Sure, yeah. Cicadas.
Pile them on. Pour on more of those things, I say. I really don't. That's terrifying.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. Anyway,
well, we've got a heck of a soundtrack to listen to tonight. I have a lot to say about this game, so let's dive in, huh?
All right.
Matt,
yes,
hit us with some history.
Battletoads was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in June 1991 in North America and hit Japan later that year in December, and Europe in 1993. It was developed by Rare and published by Trade West, and was obviously designed to capitalize on the overwhelming success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle brand. It was also something of a technical showcase for the platform. The game featured a strikingly cinematic opening sequence, followed by bright, colorful visuals, gigantic bosses, parallax scrolling backgrounds, and all manner of effects that pushed the NES to its limits. It also weaved in and out of several different genres through the course of the game. Where the first level led most people to believe Battletoads was a beat-em-up akin to the likes of Double Dragon, the second stage saw you rappelling down a chasm, the third level put you in a tough-as-nails escape sequence, the fourth level was a precision platformer, and so on. Battletoads was Rare doing what they did best, sometimes to a fault. While the game is incredibly diverse, it's also prohibitively difficult, meaning the majority of players never saw the bulk of what the game has to offer. It was eventually ported to a number of platforms, including the Sega Genesis, Game Gear, and Amiga, and spawned a series of sequels that focused far more on its brawler gameplay. But the NES original remains unmatched in its historical significance and overall success.
Another negative point about the game's overbearing difficulty is that most people who played the game never got to experience more of its awesome soundtrack, which was composed by David Wise. You've probably heard this name mentioned on this show quite a bit, as I'm a tremendous fan of his work, but in case you're new here, Mr. Wise was the man responsible for the bulk of the music in the Donkey Kong Country franchise, Wizards and Warriors, Cobra Triangle, and many more. For Battletoads, David did a great job of maintaining a through line in terms of overall tone, but also matching the incredibly varied forms of gameplay present throughout the adventure. This soundtrack rules, and I can't wait to start listening. Matt, what is your history with Battletoads?
This is one of the many cases where I have Zip Zero.
Really?
I mean, yeah, no, I've never played it, never owned it. I probably don't even think I've held the original cartridge. I mean, it's become kind of a thing of video game history and lore, and you know how difficult it is, and
there's the whole meme of calling GameStop and asking for Battletoads for years, and I don't know. I feel like the game has gotten a very undeserved reputation for being not good.
Well, I think that's because it's just hard.
Yeah, and the thing is that I feel like most people think that this game is a brawler because, you know, when you think of, well, what were the games that people played more and got to see more of? Stuff like Battletoads and Double Dragon, or any of the various like Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, stuff like that, which were primarily brawlers, which was what the first stage of Battletoads was. But every time I played this game and I managed to get further, it always astonished me how like the first level was just a beat 'em up, and a really fun beat 'em up too. It's like big exaggerated cartoon visuals and stuff. It's the visual stuff that they pulled off in this game impressed me so much when I was a kid, because I remember renting it and being like, Battletoads, that's like Ninja Turtles. Sure, I'll try it out. And I plugged it in, and I mentioned in you mentioned the intro that the beginning of the game of this very cinematic thing, and like it looked like a movie, like, you know, a little spaceship flies into the camera and then away, and there's like a planet in the distance, and it says Battletoads, kind of like a movie font, like it's very, you know, straightforward, and then it, you know, goes all full cartoon on you with the ridiculous opening music and whatnot. But you get into the game and like they do the cartoon thing where their hands like get really big when they do a big punch, or like their feet get really big when they do a big kick, or if they do a really big headbutt, ram horns come out of their heads. You know, they're very stretchy and goofy, cartoony. And the first boss, as much as I thought that stuff was really cool, when I got to the first boss was the first part of the game that just truly and utterly blew my mind, because the boss battle is shown from the perspective of the boss. So like you get to you're fighting these big long-legged creatures all through level 1. And then you get to the end, and a giant version of that shows up, and you only see its leg as it stomps on the ground towards you, and like your Battletoads both like do the giant jaw drop all the way to the floor, and their eyes bug out of their heads like, ah, because this giant thing's in front of them. And then the camera view switches to like this red, like from inside of a visor, and it's the boss shooting at the Battletoads. So you're controlling the Battletoads, but the camera is from the perspective of the boss, which is, this is an NES game, right? Like, you don't, that kind of stuff didn't happen with NES games. Like, this was a really, really wild effect, and it almost took me a minute to figure out what was going on. But like, the boss will shoot these little lasers out, and then the last laser will be like this rock or something that forms on the ground, and then you pick it up and throw it at the screen, and it cracks the screen because you just hit the boss in the face with the rock. It's really cool. And then you get to the second stage, and you're rappelling down this giant chasm, and it's got multi-layered scrolling going on. Another thing that you didn't really see much of on the NES. That was like the Sega Genesis was rocking that stuff over where Sonic the Hedgehog was just coming out, you know? And here it is on an NES game, looking gorgeous and just really rare, flexing those tech muscles. Like, they squeezed so much out of the NES in this game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I felt like I had interrupted you before. I wanted to let you...
No, to be fair, I didn't have much else to say. I thought it was actually a decent way to progress into kind of your history. So I mean, go take it and run with it, man.
I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about this as the episode goes on. Like, it took me years to finish this game, but I never wanted to stop trying. Eventually, I was only ever able to finish it with a Game Genie. I made myself do it too. Like, I got through all the hard parts, but I can get pretty darn far in this game without the use of a Game Genie. And like, man, it is really astonishing. Like, it doesn't nail every single thing. Like, the game is obscenely difficult, and a lot of times it's because like it's just kind of cheap deaths from time to time. But it's the kind of thing that you're kind of really interested in learning, and it involves very twitch reflexes and stuff. But man, you have to admire the ambition of this game. And I was talking to somebody on our Discord earlier about Ninja Turtles for NES versus Battletoads for NES, and because we were talking about how the Ninja Turtles games have these great soundtracks, and that I said that the game can go jump off a cliff, but I love the soundtrack, and they were like, oh, you like Battletoads, but you don't like Ninja Turtles. It's like, no. Ninja Turtles, Battletoads can jump off a cliff too. Like, that game's crazy stupid hard. It's also got an amazing soundtrack. But if I'm comparing Ninja Turtles to Battletoads, I think Battletoads is just so much. I think it's a much better game because it's so much more ambitious. It's just brimming with creativity. Like, for a brand that seems so obviously like this is designed to capitalize off the popularity of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're Battletoads, right? It's like 1-to-1 there, but this is the creativity that went into the world that this game created, and all the different kinds of levels, like riding the giant snakes and holding onto these weird unicycles that ride up walls and stuff. Like, there are so many strange things happening in this game. This was just Rare firing on all cylinders, and I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of tack on to what you said, I mean, like, TMNT is always going to be that, like, big IP, just because, like, they had the cartoon bred from the graphic novels. There's a whole toy line, and you're just inundated within. That's where the nostalgia lies. But speaking strictly on ambition, Battletoads is certainly the head and shoulders above TMNT, and
from gameplay,
and that's not me. That's not me, dropping a deuce on the TMNT series, because those notoriously hard NES, TMNT.
The first one is just ridiculous, and then they really nailed it with the brawlers. Like, those brawler TMNT games are great, and the NES adaptations are phenomenal. Like, they're some of the best in their class. But Battletoads did so much more, like, and I love that about it. I just love how creative they got with it, and how much they tried to change things up from level to level, like completely different gameplay styles.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you get a little something different every time, every level. I feel like it's a reward. Like, hey, listen, this game's really hard, but you get going in it. Trust me, you're gonna like it.
You just figured that out. Now figure this out.
Yeah, right. No cakewalks here.
All right, let's get to work, shall we? We've got a really good lineup of tunes. I didn't skip too many tonight, really. We've got, I think we got 11 songs to listen to tonight, and they're all winners. They're all good stuff. So let's start with Ragnarok's Canyon. This is the level 1 theme. This is the song that pretty much everybody who's played Battletoads has heard before, and it's a really good tune. Great way to start off a game. So let's give it a listen. Enjoy. That was Ragnarok's Canyon from Battletoads. What'd you think?
That was really interesting because, like, my initial thoughts were like, there's a lot going on here. So like, you know, you get that dum 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 dum, and I'm like, ooh, that's like a cool like rhythm to, you know, kind of be the bass layer for something, and then the first thing comes on top of it, and then it's, you know, so it's not like it sounds weird because for me to say this, because it's not all that energetic or loud or whatever you would think when I say the word chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this track is very chaotic, which is weird because it's like an NES track. Like I said, it doesn't.
It's got a lot of different parts that need to come together. Like,
yeah, and like there's a lot of it I really, really enjoy. There's the part where the drums break and it's just like boom, ka, boom, ka. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. And then they do some stuff over it, and I'm like, yeah, like it's good. I just feel like it might be a little too all over the place. I almost want it to be like, hey man, pick like 3 melodies and stick with them.
I really love, again, I love the ambition of this song where it starts off like super simple, just that do 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 do, and then they keep reprising that, and you know the crazy like bass bends that they do, like do 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 do, like it was really just, I mean, David was just kind of showing off, it seems like, hey, look at all this wacky stuff I can do. But it had all those very, you know, distinct, rare NES instruments going on, and I just love the complexity of it while it's all kind of going over that pretty simple bass line and the different drum tricks that they did. Like you were talking about, like the boom, boom, and then like they did another round over that bass line where it kind of sounds like just a hi-hat running like like it's so clever. I really love this tune.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it's a little too chaotic for my likes, my tastes, my preferences.
Fair enough. Well, let's see if this next one does you any better. This is the Wookiee Hole. So this one is a stage that you are the big old canyon that you're going down. Right after you beat the first boss, you guys jump into this hole and you're rappelling down these ropes. And this stage was like, this was the first stage was a little bit of a test in the whole multiplayer thing because there's friendly fire in this game. You can beat the crap out of each other in this game and kill each other. This stage, though, there's a move that's a one-hit kill for anything, including your partner. So you got to be really careful when you do the wrecking ball move. If you go all the way against the wall and wait till your rope straightens out, you'll turn into a wrecking ball, and you press the button and you'll just swoosh right across the stage, kill anything in a single hit. You can use it as much as you want, but it comes at a price. Because there's also a little tiny bit of uncontrol that you have after you. Yeah, it takes like a second for you to kind of recuperate after you do it. Mm-hmm. And there are these other birds that'll fly through the stage, and they'll cut your line, and that's an instant death too. So the game's hard, man, but it's really cool. I loved mastering this stage, man. My sister and I would play this 2-player, and it took us so long to master this stage. Like stage 1, kind of no problem. We had that figured out pretty quick, but man, stage 2 took us a while to get through. And it was worth it. And this is really cool music for it has a very Descent sound. It has this whole like actually descending note that kind of happens a couple of times in it, but it also does a lot of those neat kind of like echo effects that David Wise really was able to yank out of the NES sound chip. So let's give it a listen. Here is level 2 Wookiee Hole. Enjoy. Hole. Fun name. I love the just the overall feeling of descent that this song presents, because the whole thing is kind of on rails. You know, it's not like you have a lot of control, that the camera will automatically be moving down until enemies show up, and then it'll stay still until you beat the enemies, and then you'll start rappelling down again automatically. So the whole thing is just down, 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 and I like how the music has all these echoey aspects to it. Like, you know, the sound in this cave would obviously be super echoey, but then occasionally it just does the big, like, kind of glorious splash, like da, 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 and it's like kind of hit a little bit with the splendor of being inside of this gigantic chasm. That's actually kind of cool looking. I really think this nails exactly what the stage was trying to set. It's a very appropriate tune, but I also think it's a really cool tune to begin with.
I'm going to agree with you, actually. I like this one a lot. I don't know that it necessarily speaks to my sensibilities as a music connoisseur, but it's definitely like, I definitely get the feel of being in like some kind of cave or cavern, you know, from NES, Super NES kind of vibey, you know, overall stage design. I agree. I'm always a fan of hearing some reverb and some delay to create space and distance. This definitely has a bit of that, which goes back to my original point of I get the mental image of cave, cavern kind of stuff. I do like the big flourish. You said it's big splash, like the big flourish. You know, I think this is a really... so far, I like this one better than the first level. Just, you know, again... they're not terrible, but you know, when it comes to a song, yeah, this one speaks more to me.
Excellent. All right, well, I look forward to hearing what you make of this one. This is probably the last song that most people heard in this game, because this is the song for Turbo Tunnel, the speeder bike part. There's a song that happens like right before you get on the speeder bikes, but there's really not much to it. It's just a couple of notes that repeat over and over again, because this is where the level is. So you're in this like weird underground brain looking place, and then you get on these little floaty bikes, and everything just starts going insanely fast, and like really, especially for an NES game, like. Really faster than anything I had ever seen on an NES game to this point, like bar none. And all these rock walls start showing up in your path, and they'll like blink a little bit, and they'll like fly right towards the screen. You got to dodge them, you know, up and down. You can, you know, dodge up, dodge down. You can jump, and then some of them you can actually duck under by just staying perfectly still, and you just kind of have to figure that out. And then there's a section that the hardest one that I can never... It's the one that I always screw up on. I can do the rest of it flawlessly, but there's this one part we have to manually jump and land, and there's only like a very small space that you can actually land on this very large mass. So it looks like there's a whole lot of space you can land on, but you can only actually land on this very little teeny tiny bit inside of it, and I have no idea where that hitbox is. So like, that's the part that I always lose on. It usually takes me at least 1 or 2 lives to get through this area because of that one part. But I have this just ingrained in my memory. So as long as I'm playing on a CRT with no lag, I can get through Turbo Tunnel almost every time because of how much I over and over and over again did this stage, like nonstop. It was ridiculous. And this tune is super cool. We listened to on our, I think it was maybe it was our awards show, but we listened to the new Xbox version of Battletoads version of this song. And I thought that was really good, but this one's where it's at. So let's go ahead and listen to a very trauma-inducing song. So yeah. Sorry if this brings back bad memories, but here's Turbo Tunnel from Battletoads. Enjoy. That is the Turbo Tunnel speeder bike level. God.
I can certainly hear anxiety like in that. Just coupled with, you know, the actual level and all that comes of that.
So, the whole stage that song is playing, right? As soon as you get on the bike, and like I said, the whole stage you'll be playing, and you're always given a warning of what's coming next. There'll just be a little flashing at the front of the screen that's showing you what's about to come at you, and you just kind of get at this rhythm. Except the very last chunk of the level, they do not flash. The music speeds up to almost twice as fast, and the stage goes even faster, and it's just up, down, up, down, up, down, with no warning. It's just... And what's super fun is that on the 11th one, I think it's the 9th or the 11th one, there's a warp zone. If you crash into the 9th block, you get to warp ahead a couple of stages. You're welcome.
Dang. That's cool. I mean, that's a strange place to put a warp, but whatever, I guess.
You can see it, which is how I found out about it. You're going through that section, and the warp zone looks like this little explosion, And like as the things are going by, like I'm just you're unblinking, staring at the screen, and I'm like, what was that? And then I die. I'm like, what was that? And then I die. And like, I'm gonna run into that. And then I ran into it. Warp zone, yay!
Let's see what happens. Yeah, not bad.
But anyway, that song is very very energetic. I really like the main melody of it. Just the it's a really good upbeat tune. Nice and fast, nice and energetic, but also like it builds and then always pulls itself back in. The do just to kind of like it does a really good job of keeping you on your toes because no matter how much fun you're having, you have got to be focused on the stage or you are toast.
Yes, I mean I've seen plenty of playthroughs and I know how bad this level is. But music-wise, I think it's fantastic. It's a great driving bass line, and like you said, it builds itself up. It pulls itself back in. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. And actually, if I may, I think it's even a little understated. But I guess I have to kind of remind myself that this is Nintendo Entertainment System, so you're not going to get, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It's
about as bombastic as it can be, and I think I understand what you're saying. That's a little understated, and I think that's kind of important because I think if the music was providing any more of a distraction, that would be genuinely unfair. And I think because you think about the kind of the crazy effects and stuff that they did in Ragnarok's Canyon or even Wookiee Hole, where there'd be these big like musical set pieces kind of things that really almost make you stop to appreciate the music. This one is very much driving background. Good, solid, keeps you going, but it is a bit understated. It is very backgroundy, which I think was I have to assume was an intentional design choice because of how much focus this stage requires.
Yeah, I could see that. But no, I say understated. I don't. Again, it's not really a negative. I'm not really saying it's a negative. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just kind of an observational point of note, I suppose.
Duly noted. All right, the next one we're going to listen to is the Arctic Caverns. We've heard this song on this podcast at some point during one of our winter specials, because this is just some good old-fashioned solid ice level music. So after you beat the turbo tunnel, the next stage is a precision platforming stage on ice. So you're moving around with your Battletoads, and there are all these spiky pink balls all over the place that will instantly kill you. There are snowmen throwing snowballs at you, giant ice cubes sliding around that you have to jump on and pick up and throw around to break through walls. This is a tough level, and but it's so completely different from the turbo tunnel because this was very relatively slow and methodical. There are a couple of spots where you have to run away from sharp objects that are chasing you, but this one you have to be precise in a very different way, which I think is a very cool ice level. Anyway, here's Arctic Caverns level 4. Enjoy. the Arctic Caverns level. How Arctic?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what? Actually, it's certainly a cavern. I'll give you the cavern. It's not necessarily as Arctic as, some of the stuff we talked about in our, winter specials where it has that, like, crystalline sound and...
Well, I feel like it has the crystalline sound. It just doesn't have the same, I guess, like, chord progression, right? Because that main do-do-do-do-do, it's got that very crystally, doinky sound to it. It's just that you think of a lot of the icy kind of stuff tends to land a lot more in the major key, I think. And I feel like that's what kind of pulls this out of what a typical ice level would sound like. Because this one's very minor, but not in like a scary way. It's just kind of like more like a laid back rock ice tune, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but there is definitely something a little odd about this compared to a lot of other ice music that we've listened to.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same. It's not you're listening to the same track, how a lot of, like, if you get those, you get a desert level, you know what it's going to sound like. You know what I mean? So, but
it's not pretty. That's, I think, what it is. It's not.
Yeah.
There's usually some semblance of pretty in ice level music. This doesn't even go for that. Like, it doesn't even attempt it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think that's a fairly accurate description. But that being said, like, again, it's another track where I dig, like, its bass line a lot, and then, like, a lot of stuff that sits on top of it. The really memorable melodies, I think. And again, as always, like, within the confines of the NES's capabilities, like, it's really good.
I also really like this one. I mean, I really like this whole soundtrack. It's David Wise doing his David Wise thing. I don't know. This was this song always just reminds me of the incredible sense of relief of beating Turbo Tunnel for the first time, being like, "What's next?" and then just being kind of fascinated at how totally different this level was than anything else I had played up to that point. And then, obviously dying very quickly and being like, "Well, guess I got to do the Turbo Tunnel again because I'm out of continues."
Ugh.
And that's NES gaming for you. You rent the game and you just play it and play it and play it and play it, and I loved it. So let us leave the Arctic Caverns and head over to level 5, Surf City. This is a surfing level, which is broken up with some interstitial brawlers. Like, you'll just get, like, you'll get off your surfboard. So it's like a really slow version of Turbo Tunnel, which is, like, really messes with your head because the mechanics are so similar, yet not, because you're on a surfboard, and this surfboard is, like, constantly bouncing. So you don't have the same exact kind of control as you had over your bike in Turbo Tunnel, and also everything is so much slower to the point where it's kind of nerve-wracking because you're used to the speed of Turbo Tunnel, and then you get to this point, it's like, that's going a lot slower, and I want to make sure that I'm reacting slowly enough instead of overreacting quickly, and then I miss my jump or something. It's a neat stage. And as far as the music goes, this is another one that really doesn't go for the obvious. You would think this would have a very specific surf sound, and it does remind me of laid back surf, but in a very different way. So let's give it a listen. Here's Surf City level 5 and Terratubes level 9. Enjoy. Surf City, man.
Yeah, there definitely was surf vibe, for lack of a better term. I like that one a lot, actually. Again, bassline was actually amongst one of my favorites. Let me see. Again, these are like fairly simple tracks, so to speak, but they're really effective. I don't know. I feel like if I pontificate too much, I'd be definitely overselling it. It's just solid. It's just really solid. I do, sometimes we listen to older things and I don't notice drums at all or any attempt at drums, and it just kind of, there's like one thing that gives you like a tempo, But I appreciate like all these tracks having some semblance of a drum kit, not just, like I said, like one thing like a hi-hat or a snare. Like you're gonna get a kick, you're gonna get a snare, and I think that's super cool. That's really what's kind of doing it for me in some of these tracks.
I really like the part where the bass line and the melody both matched up when they're both going do 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 do. That was part super cool. This is it's another relatively driving rhythm to for an auto-scrolling stage, except for the parts where you're fighting. So it's once again really effective at being the music for the kind of stage that it was designed for. And I just think it's a really interesting sounding too. And you're right, it's not super complex, but I do think it is more complex than a lot of NES stuff was at the time, and in a really cool way. It's just a really interesting to listen to this music and hear what David Wise was going for, and just all the kind of tricks that he was playing to write this rather complicated sounding music, even if it isn't ultimately the most complicated stuff in the world.
Right.
I very much enjoy it. So let us move on to Karnath's Lair. This is the snake level. So when I say snake level, you might think, oh, there's snakes everywhere and I gotta fight them. No. This is a series of rooms that you go to, and there are these like portals in the wall, and these gigantic snakes come out, and you have to ride them. But they always turn at 90-degree angles, and you can hold onto the sides like climbing, or you could stand on top of their backs while they're moving. And but you can't seamlessly travel from one to the next. You're always having to jump from like grabbing on this part of the snake, then grabbing onto this part of the snake as it's kind of moving. It's almost like a way more complicated version of those like little green track things that you would ride on in Super Mario World or something.
Okay.
This stage is nuts. It's super cool looking, and it's got pretty interesting music, because a lot of this stage is wait and then react. Like, that's kind of the whole thing about this stage, is like, where's it coming from? I hear that it's happening. Okay, there it is. I have to react really quick. It's a very interesting kind of stage, and I think the music matches it pretty well. So here is Karnath's Lair. Enjoy. All right, that's Karnath's Lair. What's interesting about this track is that the way it's used in the game is that it restarts all the time. So like I said, it's a series of rooms. So like you'll be in this, like now you teleported into this one just gigantic room, and when you ride the snakes, you get to you eventually get to the little teleport thing at the end of it, and then you show up in the next room, and that's when the stage music starts over again. So every single time you get to a new room, you're back at that start of the song where it's very plodding. It's very do. All right, what's going on? Do. Where's the snake?
Right.
Like it's very thinking about it, and then as the music picks up, you're doing these like crazy jumps that are super duper stressful because there's stuff that could kill you at an instant at every turn, and then you're back at the beginning. Okay, where's the snake? Where's it coming from? It has a very interesting cadence to it, and it's again really perfect for what this stage is.
I'll agree. Again, another track where I'm really in love with the bass line and actually the whole piece itself. I like the do. It's a fun way to kind of start off a song. I think of like, you know, a bunch of metal songs that just start off like guitar, just real quick, dun 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 dun. You're like, ooh, something mean is coming. So that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to say about it other than that's another fantastic track.
Yeah, it's another really interestingly reserved song, but unlike the Turbo Tunnel one where it had that sort of wasn't as bombastic because of the very nature of the stage, this was reserved because like the whole point of the stage is to stop and think. And be ready to react in an instant, and it really matches that gameplay style so perfectly with the just quick little staccato nature at the beginning of the tune. I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh. Okay, next up is Volkmeyer's Inferno.
Okay.
This is a stage where you're on jets and there's fire everywhere.
Okay.
Another similar to Turbo Tunnel, but like again, a fairly different take on it, and really, really stressful. So here's Volkmeyer's Inferno. There's fire everywhere. Enjoy. I like that song a lot. I like the
gonna agree.
Yeah, I like the little bit where it just turns into this like kind of happy major chord bit there in the middle of it. That's kind of the first you've really heard of major chords in this whole soundtrack, and it's almost like a little bit of relief, like, all right, this is actually really cool. Like, I know this has been extremely harrowing so far because this game is so freaking tough, but like, let's just take a second and appreciate that this is really cool. So there you go. I like this. I really like in the beginning of it where it's kind of making fire noises in the background of the music.
Yeah.
Like that's a really neat little effect. And David Weiss kind of did something similar in like his Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack where you have like the wind and stuff built right into the tune. It's a neat way of handling stuff like that. I really like this one.
Yeah, I'll agree. I was going to say this definitely sounds like it's on fire. It gives me the kind of mental imagery of like a flame stage, a lava stage, whatever you want to call it, inside of a volcano stage. I liked it a lot. I actually like the main melody a lot. Playing off that bass line again. Yeah, just solid stuff.
Yeah, and this stage in particular, I did want to point something out. I'm just kind of getting myself to a little spot where I can look at it to kind of regain my memory of it. Yeah, so like you start the stage and it's like crystals in the background. And there's like this is 7-2, so it's very similar to Turbo Tunnel where you're starting the stage and the music in the background is something relatively repetitive. It's just kind of like a couple of chords that repeats. And you do some tricky platforming, you do some beating up bad guys, and then you get to the jets. And as soon as you get on the jets, or like right before you get to the jets, the background turns into fire, and the Battletoads do the thing where their like jaw drops, and so that's like the musical cue is super cool. So it's like the everything changes to fire, and then you run over to the jets, and then that's when everything picks up, and that you kind of like feel like you get on it, and as it's revving up, like it's like the revving up of your jet, and then you just start going once the da-na-na-na-na-na-na starts happening, and you've got this multi-tiered fire scrolling by in the background, which is again a really crazy awesome effect for an NES game. And this one's like you're dodging these like bars of fire that have these openings in them, and like some of them will open up as they show up on the screen or something. Like it's a really freaking tough stage. Like, as of course this whole game is really freaking tough, but it really is another situation where the music matches so well what's happening on the screen. Even though this is a lot slower than Turbo Tunnel, and I assume it's by nature because the way they do Turbo Tunnel, you can go so much faster because they give you that warning of when things are showing up. But in this one, the screen's scrolling so much slower because they don't give you that warning, so they need to give you enough time to kind of react to what's happening on the screen. And I guess that's kind of reflected in the fact that the tune eventually turns into that little bit of a major chord there, because it's not as constantly fast like death metal in your face. It's like it gives you a brief moment to breathe, kind of a thing. Even though there is not much in the way of breathing room in this stage, because like you dodge the fire bars, then you get to the fireballs, and then there are rockets that start, falling from the top and coming up from the bottom, and you've got to dodge all those. And then you get more fire bars as things keep going faster and faster, and it's like then once it does actually get to the point where things start going stupid fast and they start giving you the warnings, but like the music speeds up to like 3 times as fast too, so it's like unfathomably stressful. It's just nuts.
It's unfathomably. Yeah.
You are definitely rolling at ludicrous speed.
Yay, ludicrous speed.
All right, so the next track we're going to listen to is Intruder Excluder. This is a stage that's kind of like a vertical scrolling stage. It's not an auto scroll, but you're at the bottom working your way up to the top, and you got to do all these like weird platforming things to get in between these moving platforms and stuff, and you're always beating up stuff with a stick, and then you fight a giant robot at the top. It's a fairly straightforward stage, and it's kind of a nice break before you get to where you're going next. So this track is Intruder Excluder, and it's pretty cool. Enjoy. was Intruder Excluder. What'd you make of that one?
That's another great one. It sounds kind of dumb because we talk, or at least you talk about how much you love David Wise, and I'm a fan. Everything I hear, I think is great. This is no exception. I just like how simplistic some of this stuff is, but how effective it is. Again, this is another one that has a great bass line, another great complementary melody to it, and it builds, and it comes back down. It builds, and it comes back down. It's a lot. A lot of what I've said to previous tracks is applicable here as well.
Yeah, I will. I'll agree with you. I don't have a. For this stage was like one of the few stages in this game that didn't really stick out to me, and it was also one of this was the last stage that I was able to beat on my own. I've done a little poking around here and looking at the stages, and I was like, "Yep, level 9, the Terratubes. That's the one that killed me, and killed me dead." Yeah, I like this. I like this level. I like this song quite a bit. It's awesome. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add to that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. Don't do it.
So level 9 we already listened to. That was Terratubes. That was the same as Surf City, and I hate that level. That level is. That's the one I needed the Game Genie to get past. It is just it's like a half jumping and half swimming level, and you're in all these pipes, and there's these instant death spikes just littered everywhere, and you got to run away from these gears, and there's like spikes that are off screen, so you have to like you have to know where these things are. I never got around to memorizing the stage, and this is where I completely lost it. I was never able to do this one, so which is a shame because the level that follows it is super cool. I remember getting to it using the Game Genie and be like, all right, what's this game got next? And this is a wacky escape sequence kind of thing where you have to race a rat boss to a certain part of the stage, and if you lose, then you die, and if you win, then you get to keep going in the stage. And this music is perfect for that because it's like, you're not racing on anything. It's a foot race, so you're just trying to get through this stage as quick as you can and avoid the hazards and not stop to fight things or whatever. You just got to get to the finish line as quick as you can to beat the rat. It's a super cool stage, really hard even with a Game Genie, but it's really rewarding. So let's give it a listen. Here is level 10 Rat Race. Enjoy. I love that one. That's probably my favorite song on the soundtrack, to be perfectly honest with you. That song just blows me away. It's so wild. It's like that drum beat that he came up with for when the main kind of intro melody reprises itself is just so funky, especially for an NES tune. And it's this song just nails the intensity. I have such flashbacks of this stage when listening to this music. It's just like you get to that little spot and this music kicks in and it just like boom, you're just running as quick as he possibly can to get away from this darn rat that is way too fast. And it's just the perfect level of intensity. I freaking love this tune.
It definitely does sound like this song would appear next or accompanying some kind of hijinks. And you say it's a race, that kind of makes sense to me. Again, another great bass line. The drums are there doing, minimalistic, but it's there, and it in its own slim way, its own kind of stripped away way. It fills it out, so to speak. Another great video. Oh my god, another great song.
So I got to put a little bit more of the stage itself into context, because I don't feel like I'm doing it justice. So, besides the fact that I just think the music itself is super brilliant, like that crazy alarm sound, like this really high pitch, just like really, it fills you with that anxiety. But this music is really, really malleable in the stage. So you're going through, and there's all these death traps, these little like sentry drones and stuff you got to punch out of your way, and these gas things that shoot out of the side of the wall. And what you're actually racing the rat to is bombs that are going to go off. And as soon as the rat will materialize, it'll be like beamed into the stage, and then it just starts running, and you got to start running. And as soon as the rat shows up, the music slowly, actually not even that slowly, just starts to pick up the speed till it's going insanely fast, till it's just it just sounds like noise, and you're just like, just gotta go, and then you get to the bomb, and it's not just enough to get to the bomb, you have to hit the bomb. You have to kick it off the screen, or before it goes off, or before the rat gets there and sets it off and blows everything up. And as soon as you do that, the screen kind of fades to black and then fades back up again, and you start the next chunk of the race, and the music goes back to the starting tempo until the next rat shows up, and then it starts going faster and faster and faster. It's as awesome as the music is on its own. Watch a playthrough of this game and just look at the walkthrough of somebody playing level 10 rat race in the NES game, and just watch the absolute madness and just the nail-biting intensity of the stage. It's so good, and the way the music plays along with it is just chef kiss. Phenomenal. Oh boy. Alright, so I hate to skip it in its entirety, because honestly it's a great level. Just the music is not, the music didn't really light my pants on fire, didn't really blow the old skirt up, if you know what I mean. It's very effective for what it is, but given time constraints, we don't want to be here all night. The stage 11 is another one it was a very memorable stage. This was another one, even with Game Genie, I had a hard time getting through. It's called Klinger Winger, and you get on this unicycle, but that you're holding onto with your hands. So it's just this one wheel with handlebars sticking out of it, and you hold onto it, and this glowing death spiral shows up behind you and starts chasing you. And the unicycle sticks to all the walls, so you've got to press the directions to move on these 90-degree angles, across the walls and the ceilings, and you have to do it fast enough to outrun the glowy death spiral that is right on your heels the entire time. And it's crazy intense. Man, this game's weird. It's super cool, but man, it's weird. Anyway, so the next the next level after that is The Revolution. This would be level 12, and if I remember correctly, this is the last level in the game. So what's cool about this was a trick that I saw here first. I think I saw it here first. I can't remember if I saw this trick here or in Kirby's Adventure first for NES, but it's like this tower it's a cylindrical tower. And it's a really, really wild effect. You've got to see it in motion if you've never seen it before. The camera doesn't the camera stays on you, and they do this effect where it makes it look like you're spinning around this round cylindrical tower by manipulating the tower itself, spinning it around in the background. It's a really crazy cool effect especially for an NES game, and they definitely used something really similar in Kirby's Adventure. I think it's more effective here than it was in Kirby's Adventure, and it was super cool in butter building in Kirby's Adventure. Like, don't get me wrong, but this is just awesome stuff right here. This is a really cool stage, and the music's not bad. Like the rest of the game, it's pretty snazzy. So let's go ahead and listen to the music of the final stage, The Revolution. Get it? Because things are spinning. Revolution.
Waka waka.
Yeah, cleverness. All right, here you go. Enjoy. Well, that is an appropriately dreadful song, you know what I mean? Very, I'm watching a playthrough of this level. I hate this level. It's such a cool effect with the spinny tower and whatnot. I hate this level. Again, this is another one like it reminds me a lot of another Rare game, Cobra Triangle, where I've beaten that game only with a Game Genie. And even with a Game Genie, I would get to the end of that game and be like, how? How in the world are you supposed to do this? And I'm watching this playthrough of somebody doing a perfect walkthrough as in a no-hit run of this game, which is like just boggling my mind because there's so many death traps everywhere, just so much little like one hits, you're just toast. And you know, this guy just knows them all. But man, to the music itself, it's got a very interesting final level feel to it, you know? It's way more full of dread than just about anything else in the game. It has almost no sense of fun to it, which is fun because there is no real fun to be had in this last level. It's just things trying to blow you around, and it's just mean. The whole level's just plain old mean. Yeah, I don't know. What'd you make of this one?
Again, I liked it. There was a little bit of a disconnect for me, though, towards the end of the loop, where it's like, like the first grouping of melodies that came around, I thought like, oh, this is really good, and then it kind of, I don't know, I think it got away from itself, maybe.
Yeah, it really hit this some weird like bum notes, but I mean, they don't seem like mistakes. It just seems very intentional, but like, they're bum notes no matter how you slice it. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Strange song.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a strange level to a strange game. So now we're on to we're on to the fun bits. We have technically 2 songs left. We have the boss music and the pause music. The boss music we'll listen to next because, you know, it's boss music. It's great. But I don't know if you know about this game's pause music. It's somewhat legendary.
No, I don't.
All right, I look forward to it. First, let's listen to the super cool boss music. It's boss music, man, and it's killer. So let's give it a listen. Enjoy. Boom, boss music.
Yep, that's what that was.
That's what that was. It's basically the Battletoads theme. The title screen music kind of reprised in a fast-paced boss music. It's not a lot to it, and that's fine. It's just cool boss music, man. I like it.
Yeah, agreed.
But, it's time for the piece de resistance. It is time for the pause music. At any point during this game, you could pause. And every time you paused, you would hear this just amazing set of sounds. I don't know what else to call it, but it's really special, and I cannot tell you how many times we would be playing this game, me and my sister, and we'd just pause it and just start bobbing our heads because it's the pause music, man. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That's awesome.
And it would keep going as long as you have it paused.
Sure.
I love it. I don't know what else to say, right? It's best. Clearly the best song of the night, right? Best song by far. Possibly the best tune we've ever listened to on WaveBack.
It's, totally possible.
The melody, the cadence, it nails everything. The tone.
The senseless marching forward to your own death. Yeah, I hear it.
Oh my god. What else is fun about this is that anyone can pause. So, like, you just be playing the game, you'd be in the middle of stuff, and then, like, who you're playing with would just be like, pouch, pouch, pouch. Just, like, pause it in the middle of nowhere and start dancing. Like, damn it, let's get back to the game. Then you get back to the game, then you pause it and start dancing. Like, the pause itself was, like, this weird built-in troll that you could do to each other while you're playing. It's marvelous.
I imagine if you weren't playing with your sister and, say, like, a brother instead, there would have been a lot of fist fighting.
Oh, no, you haven't met my sister. There was lots of fist fighting. Really more just her attacking me. I didn't really hit back very much, but yeah. She would get very frustrated and hit me sometimes. It's like Battletoads. Well, that about wraps it up. Happy anniversary, Battletoads. 30 years of Battletoadin'. Quite an anniversary. So I had a blast. I don't know about you. I had an absolute ball.
Having never played the game, but I would never have been exposed to the soundtrack, and I think that would have probably been a crying shame because this is what I've heard today. Absolutely solid stuff.
Yeah, it's really solid. It's really weird. You can definitely hear David Wise's signature style in this, but when you listen to his other soundtracks like Donkey Kong or Snake Pass or Ukulele, is more like, I guess, the stuff he's more known for, or even like Wizards and Warriors. You can kind of hear the tones of this in there, but this is so much more experimental in a lot of ways. It's a fascinating work. Compare this directly to what he did with Snake, Rattle, and Roll, for example. It's really wild to listen to. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And that's going to be our show. Join us next time when our anniversary series continues with the first full game starring Sega's mascot, Sonic the freaking Hedgehog, for Sega Genesis. Also 30 years old. It's crazy to me to think that this came out around the same time as Battletoads hit NES.
And I remember where I was when I first played it.
Well,
30 years ago.
30 years ago. I look forward to hearing that story next time we record. Anyway, we here at the WaveBack podcast are incredibly grateful to everyone who listens, and we love communicating with you when we can. We have a couple of ways you can do that. There's the Geekade Discord channel, in which we have a WaveBack chat where we frequently discuss all manner of stuff relating to video game music and whatever our next episodes are going to be. We also have a WaveBack forum page over on Facebook, which you can find by searching WaveBack on Facebook. Of course, you can always still send us an email at mail@geekade.com, and while you're at it, check out all our social media channels, which you should totally follow, like, and subscribe to if you haven't already. And be sure to check out all the other great content we have on our site at geekade.com. Matt, you got any fun plugs for us?
The world's longest one-shot continues. Every other Saturday at the Geekade Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Geekade. We just keep on adventuring, but we're on to the main quest. You know, it took some time. Things are getting weird. There's a 7-Eleven sized giant beetle that is now with the party.
Oh.
Yep, and it talks. Well, it speaks a language that my character actually understands, so it's been very interesting. You know, that and more. Hijinks on the D&D seas.
Fantastic. Well, I will throw in that I had started a new podcast recently, A Theater Near You. It's based on movies. We just recorded our second episode last night, which goes up, I think, the day after this episode posts. So it'll be Tuesday, June 1st, I believe. And we talked about the A-Team movie.
Nice.
Which I love. I just love that movie.
Absolutely.
So look forward to that. All right, we're going to leave you tonight with the game's ending theme, because that's what we do. It's another enjoyable piece of music from the great David Wise. Thanks, everybody, again for listening, and we'll see you next time for some Sonic the Hedgehog. Good night.